NGN's presentation of the USA Ultimate National Championships brought to you by Elemental Technologies, perfecting the media experience with multi-screen delivery solutions for the modern world. And Patagonia, team sales and discounts for athletes seeking exceptional quality and peak performance.
Rhino 0.
Welcome back to the 2014 USA Ultimate National Championships. Sorry for the audio issues we had for the very first point. That was Simon Montague going deep for Nick Stewart on Sub-Zero. And this game is Minneapolis Sub-Zero against Portland Rhino. I'm Kyle Weisbrod. With me is Topher Davis as Minneapolis takes a 1-0 lead.
Absolutely, and they took that lead on an immediate huck from Simon Montague, center, and they are just going to try to hit that deep game. I think that's going to be a big key for both of these teams, is trying to find their deep game groove early, as they're strong handlers and handler movement playing teams. But if they have that deep look to kind of make the defense open up the underthrows, it'll be successful on both sides.
Yeah, both these teams are fast. They're both two of the youngest teams here this tournament, and they like to move the distance, very skilled, and they're momentum-driven teams. Both teams have kind of flown under the radar this year, and in a wide-open B pool, or what looks like a wide-open B pool, there's a lot of opportunities. So pull comes up. And Julian Childs Walker with the pull. Rhino to receive.
See a
Hancock.
vertical stack from Rhino.
This goes out wide to Jacob Janin. Swing back to the middle to Hancock. To middle field to Freechild, out to the sideline. Big layout block there from Sub-Zero, creating their first opportunity. Logan Weiss with the block on the Freechild throw up line. Intended receiver there was Cody Bjorklund. And Sub-Zero for the first break opportunity. Sub-Zero also working out of a vertical stack. And a deep shot coming out, the lefty forehand. And wide open, number 5. That is Danny Meeson with the goal and the break for Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero opens up a 2-0 lead right off the bat.
And Danny Meeson gets the goal, and from the lefty connection from John Gaynor. Typically, Danny Meeson is going to be that defensive handler for Sub-Zero, but that time he's able to get upfield, take it, and John Gaynor, who you would expect to be as one of their big cutters on this D-line, a nice throw, keeping it inbounds down the sideline in front of Danny Meeson. Rhino defenders have no chance.
So a costly turnover from Portland Rhino early, and a quick transition from Sub-Zero gives Sub-Zero the break and the lead.
We're going to talk about some keys to the game for both teams here coming into the matchup. At least keys from our perspective here in the booth. For Rhino, they really need to have their intensity from the first point. They're a young team and need to establish that they are ready for this national competition in the first couple points. Their offensive possession we just saw was a turn. Hopefully they can clean that up. They also need to establish their deep game from their cutters. Their cutters are strong, fast, and can both throw and catch, so we will see a lot of cutter-to-cutter movement for scores. Sub-Zero is a team that's dominated by the names on their handler sets. They are going to be strong in reading the defense, knowing either if they need to play a break throwing game or a deep throwing game. So far, we've seen Sub-Zero throwing it deep.
So Rhino back on offense. Bjorklund with the disc going deep. That's out to number 99, Kelly Van Arsdale.
Kelly Van Arsdale thinking he has a defender on his back. Looks like he was caught between jumping up, laying out for it, and just catching it. Unforced error off his hands. Rhino is now on defense. But they get it right back with 70 yards to go.
Greg Cousins with the bid there. Sub-Zero unable to come up with it. So Portland another opportunity here to get their first point on the board. Getting a lot of tweets already about the Sub-Zero fashion forward tights that we've seen. We'll be talking a lot about that throughout this game.
Pairs very well with Rhino's lime green jerseys and orange caps.
So Rhino now working out of a horizontal offense. Dylan Freechild with the disc. Freechild with the backhand up line. Jacob Jannon. Forced backhand here from Sub-Zero. Freechild on the reset. Great little slice cut there from number 42, Ben Laurie. Freechild up line. And back to Laurie for the goal. And Rhino's on the board.
Great adjustment from Rhino. They've had 2 turns, almost 3 so far, trying to find a deep throw. And that last possession, they really take it back to their handlers. We see Laurie and Freechild playing it back and forth to each other. Freechild so deadly up that line. 2 steps. He's got that famous first step and up line move, and then he's able to get Laurie, who's continuing from the throw. That throw and go offense, we're going to see it a lot from this Rhino team.
Yeah, that's historically Rhinos really had that quick movement from the backfield. They love to drive it up line. There's Ben Laurie getting it. They like to drive their offense from the backfield, but this year they've been working a lot more, from what I understand, on a lot of their downfield movement and generating offense from downfield cuts.
And Kyle, just to wrap up the keys to the game for Sub-Zero, we talked about their handlers, but they also need to find this balance between being a silly team and being a serious team. We see the tights, we see the mustaches. They are out here to self-proclaim be the most fun team at Nationals, and early in the season at the U.S. Open, that was working for them. They had a strong U.S. Open. They finished top 4, made it to the semifinals. But in their next tournament, maybe their silliness got a little too far, where they went 0-5 in pool play at the Chesapeake Open. Now here at Nationals, they're ready to show that they are the real deal.
Well, they have been struggling with having player attendance issues at some of these big tournaments. The U.S. Open was the only tournament they've attended so far this season where all of their guys were there, as Nick Stewart gets the disc down the sideline. At the Chesapeake Open, they were missing 5 of their top line players, and then they've also been missing Grant Lindsley, missed a major tournament as well, and so they have not had full roster. Here's Lindsley with the disc as Sub-Zero works into the red zone. Oh, and a turnover here as Eric Johnson throws that IO look.
Grant Cole gets the D for Rhino. We might get confused with all the orange hats. Everyone looks like Timmy Person wearing them. Eli Friedman now on the sideline with the disc.
Bjorklund, and you see a lot of the same guys who were playing O-line for Rhino playing D-line. Here's a shot from Bjorklund. Ben Laurie, the intended receiver, can't come up with this one. Good defense from Drew Mahold on defense for Sub-Zero. You know, I think you were talking about the silly, serious vibe, and the clothing, the outfit for Sub-Zero, I don't think it's a silly choice. I think that they think these tights are serious. I think they think this is more athletic for them. They're able to better perform with the tights on. A lot of these guys are wearing tights under their shorts anyway. At that point, shorts are just an accessory, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I've certainly seen it at practices. It seems to be a comfort thing. I've never quite seen it in a game. We'll see if this becomes the new trend. Yeah,
I mean, they went through a lot of work here to get these done. They've got numbers on the short on their tights. They've got them sublimated. You can see Sub-Zero on the side. You know, I don't think it's just, hey, look at us, we're silly guys. I think that they're looking at this as a trend that's going to sweep the nation.
Okay, that's ultimate. Just get on two.
I certainly hope you're right, Kyle. Time will tell on that one. And maybe it will just be a few days if Sub-Zero comes away an unexpected champion.
And here's another deep shot to a wide open receiver. There's Mahold just outside the end zone. Good coverage here from Rhino. And a dish to number 21. That's Eric Johnson for the score.
Hold into the end zone for Eric Johnson.
And Sub-Zero able to hold up 3-1.
That's Sub-Zero 3.
Yeah, Rhino had their
Rhino
opportunity with a goal line D and threw it away downfield. Sub-Zero, great job. I don't know what happened to Mahold. He got lost somewhere downfield. And Josh Klain, he's got a rifle for an arm. Josh Klain out of Minnesota, strong player there. And he's been really, really key in the Sub-Zero offense. We're going to take a look at this play. Mahold is lower left. He's just sneaking upfield. No one's on him. And they are just Rhino's defense on that side stack. Sometimes it can be difficult to remember who you're guarding, have that communication between the teams. Something got lost. Mahold got wide open.
Yeah, looked like Ben Laurie was the defender responsible for Mahold, and Laurie was poaching in the middle of the lane, hoping for help bracketing in the backfield, and did not get that. Mahold recognized and took him deep. So Sub-Zero out to pull. John Gaynor with the disc to pull for Minneapolis Sub-Zero.
John Gaynor on the pull for Sub-Zero.
Both teams coming into this game with one loss. Sub-Zero a tight 15-14 loss to Machine in the first round. Machine, the 2 seed overall and the 1 seed in the pool. And then Rhino with the surprise 15-10 loss to Truck Stop in the first round. So both teams really looking for a win. And here's another opportunity for a break. John Gaynor with the block. Danny Meeson up to Julian Childs Walker. Back to Meeson. Looks like a pick downfield.
Pick called. Was away from the play. The disc will advance.
Sub-Zero in a very clean vertical stack here. They're looking for their second break this game.
Gaynor with the disc. Just a few yards out. Gaynor with the around forehand for the goal. Able to hit Dan Supnick.
You're looking at the wrong list there, Kyle. That's actually Patrick Jensen with the goal. Dan Supnick, old savvy defensive handler for Rhino.
Thank you.
And we see on this Rhino turn, Dylan is putting it out to Kelly Van Arsdale, but Cody Bjorklund is right there. Two offensive players, no matter how open they are, there's always a chance of something's going to go wrong. And Gaynor, I believe his second assist, and even more important, his second assist for a break.
Yeah, and Gaynor's really a subtle killer for the Sub-Zero team. I mean, he's been doing it since his days on Wisconsin. I think he's often understated. Quick lefty release there for that forehand and the goal. And there's Patrick Jensen, big target for them on the D line at 6'4", able to get wide open in the end zone. So now Sub-Zero up 4-1 early.
Right, and this is exactly what Rhino can't have happen. They're a strong team, and I do see them making a comeback, cleaning up their play, getting a few breaks in the middle of the game, but it's just so much harder on a team to have to come back constantly to drop those early couple points and really have to play from behind. It's a different mindset for your team and for the game.
Yeah. Both teams young, both teams like to ride momentum. Here's Harper Garvey with the pull, going upwind. The wind is really picking up here, Topher. It's a pretty strong wind. I'd say it's probably consistently at about 15 miles per hour out here.
Rhino facing this downwind point.
And Sub-Zero in a man-to-man defense. Freechild with the disc. Straight up D. Nice movement out to Eli Friedman. Forced backhand, Bjorklund. And Bjorklund putting one out. And a nice layout catch there from Steve Kenton for the goal. Nice downwind movement from Portland Rhino.
Yeah, great recognition from both Bjorklund and Kenton. Cody sees the space up blind, and as he's staring at Steve Kenton, he knows that he wants to throw. As soon as Kenton recognizes his defender isn't looking, he's able to get those steps and really get the goal, a second goal for them. Great read by Kenton. Great layout to keep the possession. Now Rhino's defense needs to get a break back. They are down 2 points, down 2 breaks.
There's a lot of tweeting happening right now about the tights that Sub-Zero's wearing. You know, as this game goes along, we'll tell a little more story here. But the original idea started at Kaimana Classic. Apparently, there was a Carleton alumni team that was playing the finals of Kaimana Classic. They were competing against a team from Australia, Colony. Colony surprised semifinalists this year at the World Club Championships. And they're competing in this finals of Kaimana. Kaimana, you know, a known, fun, off-season tournament for a lot of guys. But Colony was taking the game very seriously. And so the Carleton guys responded by taking their shorts off. They thought at the time, you know, this is silly, this is a way to keep the game relaxing. And a couple of guys were like, you know what? This is actually kind of comfortable. This is kind of the way that maybe we should be actually playing the game. You know, we work a lot on our legs, strengthening, doing track workouts in the gym, and this shows off those great characteristics. So that's kind of what started the move towards this style.
Certainly unique origins for a jersey set, but all teams have their stories. It's phenomenal to know the backstory. As Sub-Zero on offense, trying to punch this one in, keep their 2-point advantage.
Montague anchoring the offense here for Sub-Zero by Eric Johnson just outside the end zone. Josh Klain back to Montague. And Montague with a high release flick up to Nick Stewart for the goal. And 5-2, Sub-Zero with the lead.
That's a connection that if you've been paying attention to the college game in the past couple years, you are very familiar seeing. Simon Montague to Nick Stewart, 2 young players at Carleton who have been absolutely dominant. And Montague known for his breakthroughs, release points, showing it off there at the high release. And something that's interesting about Montague's release points, just in context of his kind of friendly relationship with Dylan Freechild. Both are know each other outside the teams, and Dylan Freechild is also known for his high release flicks and breaks, kind of unconventional throwing styles. I wonder if they're both going to get into a one-upsmanship as this game goes along. Simon Montague certainly setting the tone with that high release flick.
Yeah, a lot of exciting players on the line on both teams. I really like watching Sub-Zero's O-line where you've got, you know, players like Simon Montague who can throw it anywhere, Eric Johnson who's just a grinding cutter, Grant Lindsley who can take advantage of space, and Nick Stewart who's a big target. They're a scary team when they put it together. So pull goes up. Rhino centers the disc out of a split stack here.
Set play to Janin on the flood.
And Bjorklund breaking free deep, but can't hit him. Breeze up to Kelly Van Arsdale. Force forehand, and he's going to put a throw up. Freechild, receiver. And Freechild goes up, but can't come down with it. Good pressure on defense.
Yeah, Van Arsdale having a tough time getting his dump off in the high count. He makes the right decision, getting that to the end zone. It's usually a safe bet, getting something floaty to Freechild, but strong defense from Matt Young. Good body position. There's just not enough room for Freechild to work.
And Gainer right away taking a deep shot. Falls short, but Ben Feldman able to come down with it, and the little flip dropped.
Very fortunate there for Rhino. That throw should have been a turn at the original intended target to Feldman, but they're able to get it on a miscue.
Van Arsdale back to Freechild. Freechild directing Van Arsdale where he wants to go. Lefty backhand. Freechild again.
A foul called on the mark. That lefty backhand, like I said, Freechild and Montague are going to be leading the teams in interesting and creative breaks.
You know, and what really matters about that breaks is what's the next throw it creates, especially those short ones that aren't for goals. What are you creating with that throw? Van Arsdale got it on that one and wasn't able to get it. And Freechild showing his footwork, but Van Arsdale overthrows Freechild, and Sub-Zero another opportunity here.
Van Arsdale might have been thinking goal, and Freechild was just thinking keeping the disc. But a floaty disc, and Bjorklund rips that one out of the sky in front of Feldman.
Bree Stout directing traffic, and Bree Stout taking a shot deep and wide open. That is number 9, Chris Hancock for the goal. And Rhino able to put it in on their third possession of their O point to make it 5-3.
And anytime Chris Hancock scores, you got to mention those gloves on his hands, the friction gloves, the original, well, not the original gloves because it's an import from Japan, but the original friction glove creator, Chris Hancock, showing that he's got strong hands in the end zone, and Rhino is able to score on their third possession of the offensive point. A long point, a lot of turns, but they walk away with it.
Well, between Friction Gloves and Next Gen Network, there's a lot of entrepreneurship here on this Portland Rhino team.
Are you hinting at the Kevin Minderhout?
I am hinting at the Kevin Minderhout. Kevin Minderhout, of course, the owner and producer for Next Gen, playing in this game. He's doing double duty at this tournament, trying to balance his performance for Rhino and his performance of, well, you and me, Topher, as well as the rest of the crew here. So Rhino looking for their first break of the game, down 5-3. Eli Friedman with the disc. Set to pull. Sub-Zero O-line heading downwind. There's Friedman, former Callahan Award winner.
Of course, for Oregon back in 2010.
Eli Friedman on that pull for Rhino.
Up to Montague. Out of a side stack here. Grant Lindsley in space.
Friedman and Lindsley is a matchup I was really hoping to see. Both of those guys played each other back in their college days. Both very speedy.
Actually, both members of the 2006 U.S. Juniors team that won gold medal in Boston, Massachusetts. Playing with the disc, swinging across. Montague getting up on the open side, doesn't hit him. Lindsley on the break side. Eric Johnson working downfield. Oh, potential block there. Number 22, Reese Horns. Excuse me, number 22, Grant Cole.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Grant Cole came into that throw into traffic. Cole is poaching.
Looks like Johnson had caught that and Cole stripped it from that quick replay. Let's see if we can take another look at it while they're discussing it.
This one, I imagine, will go to the observers.
Right there, yeah. Looks like Johnson has the disc for a solid period of time there.
Here we have the observer ruling. They are calling it's a catch and a foul, or rather a strip more specifically. So Eric Johnson will keep possession of the disc, 5 yards in front of their brick, 15 yards outside the end zone. Sub-Zero offense trying to score with no turns this point.
Grant Cole on the mark for Rhino.
Looking at Josh Klain. Now to Lindsley. Good pressure from Friedman. Great handler defense here from Rhino. Throw goes up, and Montague can't come down with that.
Just not enough room on the field there, trying to go for the around swing. Montague can't catch it before the line. Rhino, chance to get a break, and quite possibly their first possession for this defensive line.
Yep, that is their first offense. This is the first turnover from the Sub-Zero offense, and the first D-line break opportunity for Rhino. Nice grab there. Ben McGinn. To Cable. Excuse me, Grant Cole. Cole with the around. Camden Allison Hall out wide to Jeremy Norden. Cole in the middle. Forced backhand here from Sub-Zero. Allison Hall. Good patience here from Sub-Zero, from Rhino offense, and good downfield pressure from the Sub-Zero defense. Make it tough for them to move it up. McGinn. Friedman. Allison Hall has to go up the ladder for it, and the shot to the end zone. Another floater. Able to come down for the break.
Timmy Persons cleans that one up. Rhino gets a break. They bring this game back within one. And that's a big confidence booster for the D-line and the energy for their team on a whole.
Yeah, great possession there from Rhino on that turnover. Just working down the field. Camden Allison Hall making a nice grab and then floating one up, but Purston with the awareness. You know, we were talking about the fashion. You want to talk a little bit about why everyone's wearing these orange knit hats?
Well, the orange knit hats, that's a straight of an intimidation, not intimidation, straight of copying Timmy Persons. He's been wearing that style. He has a flashy style of orange hats. He's wearing 2 socks over his cleats, and it's just a very recognizable person on the field. Rhino wants to take that idea and make it a whole team mantra. It looks like Sub-Zero has taken a timeout after getting broken. We're going to take a timeout as well.
Welcome back out of the Sub-Zero timeout with Sub-Zero up 5-4 over Rhino, but Rhino just putting their first break on the board. Sub-Zero now having to work upwind and an opportunity here to notch that second break and pull this back to even on breaks. So we talked a little bit about the origins of the tights. Topher, I'm going to talk the next step. You know, a couple of these guys had this idea after Kaimana, like, hey, we need to make this happen. And I think the ringleader here really was Grant Lindsley. So the next step was ordering a sample pair of tights and getting some buy-in from some key stakeholders who could influence the rest of the team. So they took these tights to the US Open, and he handed them out occasionally to people and said, hey, would you mind trying this on throwing with me? And then as he threw with people, he'd say, how does it feel? And when they said, oh, it feels pretty good, he'd be like, would you get on board with this? Would you get behind this idea of convincing the team? So we got a few people that way. And we'll continue the story in our next opportunity.
Yeah, if you have a strong core of people at the top of the organization, a lot of the times the rest of the team might not even have a choice. But they're certainly a team that is willing to be unified in whatever they're doing, as you see all of them rocking those fine spandex.
Sub-Zero doing a great job isolating space here for Eric Johnson and Grant Lindsley. Eric Johnson with the disc. Nice around to Josh Klain, creating lots of space, but looks like we got a foul call. Excuse me, a pick call. It's in the stack, so it's going to stay over here with Klain. Lindsley on the doorstep. Fakes the high release. The no pivot around. Hits Montague for the big dump. And then the IO score to number 25. That's Nick Stewart with the goal to make it 6-4.
And that is our third Montague to Stewart possession connection in this game. Like we'd said, 2 players very comfortable playing with each other, and Montague strong on that break throw. He's someone that if he has the disc in his hands just outside the end zone, the entire field is open for the cutters.
Well, and Nick Stewart knows that for so many years of playing together, knows where to go for those break throws, and will set it up nicely. So the next big turning point for the tight movement on Sub-Zero, return to our story.
I love this story, Kyle.
This is fantastic. I talked to Grant Lindsley at length about this the other day, and he was very excited about this. So apparently, the other thing they did at US Open is when someone would have a great defensive game, they would give them the tights to wear for the next game. It was an award, it was a prize, so it became a thing that people wanted to wear and wanted to get. And when they made it to the semifinals, they had a fantastic US Open. They beat Sockeye 15-8 there, made it to the semifinals. As they were warming up in the stadium there in Blaine, Minnesota, whenever the person with the tights touched the disc, the crowd, led by the Fury women in the crowd, would cheer. And I think that created a public perception that people wanted to see the tights. People wanted to see these guys in the tights.
Right, and who wouldn't? It's a great look.
It is a great look. I mean, they look like football tights, right? I mean, there's a lot of athletic people in all of sports. I mean, baseball wears tight pants. Track, here's a shot deep to Bjorklund. Bjorklund with steps, runs it down. Looks like this one's coming back, though. Looks like a pick call that's going to stay there. The pick uninvolved in the play, so Bjorklund will keep the disc about 2 yards out. He has no one within 35 yards of him right now, Toph.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Most teams will take a timeout here because no one is set up. Bjorklund elects to keep the disc. Freechild is rushing to get him. They've got that fresh count. That is very big as Rhino gets settled into their red zone offense.
Back to Freechild. And Freechild to Bjorklund for the goal. The upwinder to make it 6-5.
Great offensive point by Rhino, and we saw one of our first successful hucks from Rhino in that point. Jacob Jannon going to Cody Bjorklund down the field. And once Bjorklund has all that space, he's able to get it to Freechild. They reset the red zone, and a nice, smooth score.
Well, so back to our story. So now here we are at US Open. Apparently they've created the buy-in on the team, so that's good. They've got the public perception going with them. People are fired up about the idea, but there's still one big hurdle left, and that is USAU. They're not quite sure if this is going to fit with the USAU dress codes. So Grant takes a picture of himself in the tights and sends it to head of the USAU competition, Will Deaver, to make sure they get pre-approval, because they don't want to show up, obviously, at the USA National Championships here in Frisco and be told, hey, you guys got to put something on over those
USA
things.
Ultimate has started to get a lot more strict with their jersey requirements. That might be why Rhino's all wearing the orange caps, because one of the rules is that players need matching headgear.
Exactly, and it's why it couldn't only be a couple of these guys on Sub-Zero wearing the tights. It has to be everybody.
Has to be everyone. And boy, they certainly have pulled it off.
They sure have. Apparently there's a couple guys still not happy with wearing the tights. Josh Klain and Ben Feldman are the two big holdouts, claiming, well, style reasons, and for Klain claims that it's a little bit uncomfortable for him. So Montague with the disc. Sub-Zero back in a vertical offense. Klain. Eric Johnson wide open in the middle. Looking for Montague. Lots of contact there. Montague on the ground. Shot deep. High stall count. And a D and an opportunity here. Looks like a foul call. It's a surprising foul call from Drew Mahold.
Is calling a foul on Connor Matthews. Connor Matthews and Timmy Persons, maybe two of the tallest and best air receivers and defenders for this Rhino team. Matthews, a young player for Rhino, just finished his freshman campaign at the University of Oregon. And now he's on this Rhino D-line at the Club Nationals. Big time experience for a young player. A foul is called. The observer is making the ruling, and he is upholding the foul call.
The disc will advance. Sub-Zero disc.
So Mahold is going to keep the disc here, and that's a tough break there for Rhino, who looked like they were going to get another break opportunity to tie this game up.
Right, and it was a late count throw.
Everything right for the Rhino D there, except for the observer ruling.
Another foul called.
Foul call looks like the disc is going to come in, stall of 0.
Yeah, just kind of hit the disc out of the hand during the pivoting.
And Lindsley back to Mahold. It's hanging, and Mahold in front of Purston for the goal. Purston trying to come off and get that poach block, but unable to. So Sub-Zero knocking on the door of halftime, up 7-5.
And again, we have these offenses going up line, and similar to what we saw in the first game, or going upwind, similar to the first game, teams are almost doing better and more consistent on these upwind points than they are going downwind. Sub-Zero has been doing very well running their offenses without a turn.
But you know that both these teams are, they drive a lot from the backfield, so that wind kind of helps them sit it out in front of cutters coming from the backfield up line and slows it down and doesn't allow downfield players to poach quite as much. Whereas going downwind, it's sometimes hard to hit those like up line cuts because it's hard to get the touch on that you need to let it sit in front of the receiver.
Absolutely. And even on undercuts, the speed of the disc, if it's just a slight change, it can really affect a catcher, a receiver, and their ability to catch the Frisbee and continue play.
So Gaynor with the disc for Sub-Zero to pull. Looking for halftime. Bjorklund. Back to Smith. Smith out wide to Freechild. Bid on the play. Freechild going deep. Allison Hall.
Floating
crowd
disc.
under it.
Bjorklund, great read. And he's able to dish it off to Allison Hall. But there's a discussion as 2 Sub-Zero players go down when they had missed the defensive opportunity. I am unclear about what they're trying to have happen in this point.
Well, this is an odd situation. Camden and Allison Hall, I don't think initiating contact there. Look like 2 Sub-Zero guys kind of collided going for that hanging disc. Bjorklund was able to pull it down, and Camden Allison Hall just turned and went to the end zone. Let's take another look at it. Here's the play. Allison Hall's in front. Those 2 guys kind of come in and went down. Allison Hall just heads up.
And the observer steps in, rules that there is no call, and Rhino gets their goal. Their 3rd offensive point without a turn, keeping this game within 2, and now they have to stop Sub-Zero from scoring and taking this half if they want to keep it close. I believe Sub-Zero started the game on offense, so even if they do score here, they'll have to start the second half on defense. Rhino would be in a much better position to at least get one more break. It would bring it back on serve and then have a strong run at the second half.
Yeah, I think given that Rhino started on defense in this game, having the break in this half isn't critical to them. They're going to need that break back and one more to win this game. But certainly the momentum of getting that break and putting it back on serve going to half is kind of nice.
Absolutely.
So Eli Friedman with the disc. Walks across the line.
And surprisingly, with the wind, neither team has decided to throw a junkie or his own defense yet.
I think both teams have pretty crafty handlers who have, like we've been talking about, a wide range of release throws. They get a lot of spin on the disc, and both could probably handle this wind pretty effectively, but it would be an interesting changeup.
Good deep pull from Friedman. After the centering pass, Sub-Zero is right on their goal line.
Lindsley, Eric Johnson, this one's going to hang. Eric Johnson in tough position to make a play, Person able to knock it down. So now Rhino with another break opportunity.
Rhino letting their offense set up.
McGinn picking up the disc. Rhino in a vert stack. And Friedman, heads up play there from Nick Stewart. Stands in the lane as everyone clears out. Montague to Lindsley. Out to Eric Johnson on the break side. Nice space for Montague. And Montague going deep, upwind, and right in stride to number 93, Kyle Gill for the goal and the half. So Sub-Zero wards off the break and takes half, up 8-6.
Yeah, Rhino goes into half with a sour taste in their mouth. A great opportunity to get this break, but Nick Stewart, give him all the credit. Great read, seeing Person clearing, knowing that he's out of the play, turns around, sees Friedman, gets the block, and then Simon Montague, an absolute monster on the assist side of the game.
And that throw, it looks easy on the camera here. I mean, it's just it looks like a 30-yard forehand, but that is a tough wind. The wind is going the opposite direction. You can see how he puts that edge down, how much snap he gets on it to put it in there. And so Rhino down to Minneapolis Sub-Zero 8-6, and we're going to take a break for halftime. Join us for the second half to see if Portland can get their breaks back and stay in this game.
Welcome back to the playing fields here in Frisco, Texas for the USA Ultimate 2014 National Championships. We are here watching second round play between Portland Rhino and Minneapolis Sub-Zero. Currently, Sub-Zero is leading the game 8-6, even though they had a 4-1 lead starting this game. Rhino was able to bring it back within 2, and now they start the second half on an offensive point. I'm Topher Davis, here with my partner in crime, Kyle Weisbrod. As Rhino starts the game on offense, Trevor Smith brings it to the brick mark. Smith waiting for Jannon to get open. Jannon gets it to Allison Hall on the sideline. Allison Hall upfield to Jannon. Great bid by Childs Walker, and Jannon, easy dish to Chris Hancock. Smooth offensive point from Rhino to start this half.
Yeah, and that one was Rhino just isolating space and then beating players with their speed and quickness. You know, you mentioned earlier Child's first step quickness, but it's all across the board. These guys have speed. Jannon, Hancock, all these guys are just getting a step and then they're off to the races. Camden Allison Hall, his top end speed, and they're struggling to keep up with them, and it's putting those defenders on their heels. It's hard for them to keep up, and that was all down that forced forehand side for Rhino, and Hancock with the gloves again for the goal, 8-7.
Absolutely. Rhino's coming out in that side stack, and it is to isolate those very fast downfield receivers. We'll see if they return to that, but now Rhino's focus is on defense as Sub-Zero takes their first offensive point of the second half. So far in this game, Sub-Zero has been playing very nicely on offense. Dan Subnick waiting for the pull. He will be pulling into the wind. As Josh Klain gets under the disc, receives and centers back to Simon Montague. Here we see a set play coming out. Montague looking and finds Nick Stewart over Timmy Perstens. And we have 2 opening plays out of the half of Montague to Stewart. Phenomenal play by Sub-Zero.
Yeah, Montague just hangs this one up here for Nick Stewart. Nick Stewart playing fantastic in this game.
Taking a look at this play, Nick Stewart is at the front of the stack. You see him clear out to the dead side. Montague's dangerous with that break, so defenders have to respect that. And then he can go up line for Montague with a wide open side huck. Great read by Montague. Persons was able to catch up in the float, but it's very difficult to get that read on the inside. Nick Stewart rounds it out, takes 2 steps, and a very, very strong catch.
Great shots from all of our videographers on this one, and that is a great catch there from Nick Stewart, going up big over the talented Timmy Perston. You know, that's just a classic misdirection play with the front of the stack. Nick Stewart starting the front of the stack. He cuts under. Perston has to take the underneath, and so when Nick Stewart turns the corner and goes deep, he's already got 4 or 5 steps on Timmy Perston. Perston made up that yardage, but he didn't have the right angle to go up for it, and Nick Stewart able to come down with it.
Strong start from both teams so far on their offense. Sub-Zero with the pull. Rhino trying to continue this trend as Hancock catches, centers to Smith. We see a side stack again. Bjorklund is out in the lane, and he sends out to Jannon. Jannon trying to catch up, just can't get it out of his reach in the end zone.
And that's certainly what Rhino's looking for. I mean, wide open space, lots of space. Bjorklund with the disc, Jannon is the cutter. lots of space to work with. But the wind is gusty out here. It's strong, and if you don't put enough touch on it, it just pushes away and down from the receiver, and Jan not able to catch up with it.
Here we go, Sub-Zero going deep right at the start. Danny Meeson catches it. He's calling a strip on Smith. It was almost a deja vu from a play that we saw in the first half where it was a Blady Huck coming down in everyone, and Sub-Zero is able to come down with it. This is going to go to the observers in the middle of the field.
That is an interesting one. I mean, Meeson had the disc in his hands, but it was kind of like not super solid in there from what it could look like on the replay. Looks like they're going to play it as a contested foul, and they're going to send it back. Another frustrating one for Rhino. You know, we've seen a bunch of these from Sub-Zero where they're throwing these like high stall count or just floaty or duck throws. They're just like falling and not hitting their intended receivers in stride or the way they want to, but Sub-Zero maintain possession.
Right, and Sub-Zero's possession continues. Freechild almost getting a big poach block. And something about the nerves or the play, but that is a turnover going to the reset throw in the backfield. Rhino, short field to work with on this offensive point. Their second possession. Freechild breaks around to Smith, and Smith breaks inside, finding Janin, the original target for the first turn, and he's able to reel in the second game. Looking again at this drop, just
a little out of reach of David Eddy. Again, the wind probably playing a little bit of a factor. It's pushing away from his hand, and he just didn't make the appropriate effort. And then on the turn, Freechild out to Smith to Janin. Freechild setting it all up with that really nice low around forehand break, showing he's got all the throws. You know, I wonder if Sub-Zero is choosing to force backhand because they're scared of those high release break throws that Freechild's willing to throw when being forced forehand, but Freechild showing that forcing backhand isn't some sort of solution to that problem.
absolutely. It's so hard to game plan for one player, especially as strong a player as the young Dylan Freechild. Of course, the 2013, Callahan winner in the college division, and he still has one more year of eligibility for the Oregon Eagle. He's also one of two very young captains, Dylan Freechild partnering the captainship with Jacob Janin, and I believe that veteran Breeze Strout is also in that captaining core. So a strong South Eugene captain core. And Sub-Zero on offense again. We see a very similar play. This time Stewart comes back for the break throw, and he's going to show what he can do with the throws, looking for Eric Johnson and throwing that downwind. It goes too far.
Nick Stewart just way too much on that one. That one was set up. This time Timmy Purston expected him to go deep. Stewart held. Purston was backed him by a few yards, so Stewart had some space and had to look deep there and had a receiver, but Eric Johnson, I mean, there's no way he could keep that one down. That was several yards out the back.
Nick on the goal line, 7 yards to go for a Rhino break. Having a tough time getting off this corner. He's able to get the reset to Laurie. Laurie around to Friedman. Friedman to Freechild. They've switched this field now. Arsdale, excuse me. Purstens. Laurie on the sideline. Laurie takes a shot deep. Kelly Van Arsdale can't get the read on that. Looks like Sub-Zero with their second opportunity to score on this offensive point. Josh Klain going to pick up the disc as we have an injury.
Oh, to Simon Montague coming off very gingerly here, and that will be a big loss for Sub-Zero, relying heavily on Montague.
I didn't see what happened on that play, but that's a very interesting place to get an injury as he's on defense on the mark.
It looks like he's rolling out his quad. I know he's been struggling with a bit of a hamstring issue. He's been missing practices over the last couple of weeks, but he was hopefully healthy coming in. But that's going to be a big loss for Sub-Zero for the tournament if he's unable to come back in.
Huck goes up from Kyle Gill in front of Grant Lindsley. Very notorious for his speed. He's able to beat Freechild. Sets the reset back to Gaynor. Gaynor is just outside the end zone. And a pick is called in the middle of the field, stops the play.
I don't know if we can capture that for later, but Freechild just completely stuffed Grant Lindsley on a handler cut in a really impressive way. Both guys super fast, but great footwork from Freechild there.
Lindsley gets a swing to the middle of the field. Sub-Zero in a red zone. And a easy around break. Finds Josh Klain just past the goal line. Minnesota keeps the lead 10-9. Rhino with the opportunity to break and tie that point, but end up throwing it away.
And that's really too bad for Rhino. Here's the scoring play. Lindsley getting on the break, and then Josh Klain getting wide open. As Freechild set a sort of soft mark there on Lindsley. But that's a really tough break for Rhino. Overall, the Sub-Zero offense has been pretty stingy with the disc. They've only had 3 turns so far in this game, and the last 2, Rhino has been unable to convert. And for Rhino to obviously get a break, they need to put in one of those defensive possessions.
Exactly, and very different from the women's game we watched earlier. 3 opportunities for Rhino is not a lot. They're shooting 33% on that break opportunity.
Well, with Montague out, that might open up some more opportunities. They're going to have to rely a little more on Eric Johnson, Lindsley with the disc, and Josh Klain to do a little more work throwing-wise. Montague's been doing the heavy lifting with the throws at this point.
I absolutely agree.
Kyle Gill on that last point showing that he's got some nice hucks as well.
Rhino offense looking to work downfield. Bree Strout gets it in the middle. Bjorklund takes a deep look. Not thrown to. Reset back to Hancock. Upfield to Freechild. And Freechild takes a downfield shot looking for Janin, and it's just outside that sideline boundaries. Janin and Freechild can't quite connect. This is the second offensive point that Rhino has missed a huck intended for Janin. And immediately a floaty throw in the wind. Rhino with a great opportunity, less than 10 yards to the goal line. Cable picking up the disc. Rhino offense set up, Dylan Freechild up line. Hancock wide open and able to throw it to Breeze. Hancock's defender, Danny Meeson, really jumped that up line cut from Freechild, and that just left Hancock wide open in the middle of the field.
Yeah, Freechild just busted past his defender, and Meeson had to make the play to help out. But that's what Freechild can do to you. So dangerous on that open side with his quick footwork that he opens up break opportunities for himself as well as for other players, and that's what happens here as Rhino easily able to swing it across for the goal in the red zone. So Rhino able to hold on that point to make it 10-9. And you're right, they missed 2 long throws to Janin, but both times Sub-Zero's given it back going upwind. It's tough to work it all 70 yards upwind in this, and the defensive line for Sub-Zero has not shown themselves to be quite as stingy with the disc as the O-line has been. And in that case, they gave it back and gave Rhino a short field to work with, and Rhino easily able to punch it in.
Absolutely, and those turns also have been on the first throw. One of them for Sub-Zero was called back on a foul, and then it was shortly after that. But this is that's a game that's very popular maybe in college and youth, or in very windy stuff where you need to play the field position game. I don't think Rhino is trying to set that up for their offense and just take deep looks to be ready for that defense, but it might be something that they look to go into as this game goes on.
Well, certainly, I don't think either of those looks to Janin were bad deep looks. I think Janin had steps. They were from great throwers in good position. I think that they're just, the downside of missing that throw it's low risk, right? Because if you don't get it, then you still are putting Sub-Zero in not an easy position to work with on their D-line's offense.
That's a great point, Kyle. As Sub-Zero starts on offense, we see John Gaynor with the disc, guarded by Kelly Van Arsdale. There is a foul on this pivot. Gaynor saying he needs that pivoting space.
Interesting that the Sub-Zero is bringing Gaynor over to the O-line now without Montague here. This is the role that Montague is playing. Gaynor's been playing almost all D-line this game, and now he's taking a little more of that handler role.
Gill on the sideline, gets an upline cut to Klain. Klain puts the flick out. There's Strub. Wow, wonderful catch by Eric Johnson. That is a tough read in the wind. He thought it was gonna continue more to the right, and as it drifts behind him, explosive play to keep that one in bounds.
Fantastic grab. I love Josh Klain's look here. He gets on the open side. The defender over pursues. He puts it out to the break side. And, you know, I thought Eric Johnson misread this disc. I thought he was going too tight. The wind pushes it over. And Eric Johnson makes a phenomenally athletic play to pull this one down.
Yeah, Eric Johnson is one of my favorite players to watch. He was on the Next Gen Tour in its first run in 2011 and second in 2012. He's a strong player for Sub-Zero. He took a year off to go play for Johnny Bravo last year, but now he's back where he belongs in the Great North Woods, and they are more than pleased to have Eric Johnson back on the field with them.
That is a fantastic play, and it's got to be our front runner for the Patagonia play of the day, play of the game. Eric Johnson.
Right, and that's, again, Kyle, that's one of those things where the camera might not capture how difficult it is to get the read with the wind here. He had a great read if the disc was going to continue towards the sideline, and it would have just landed right in the breadbasket. But with the wind pushing it back behind him, a quick adjustment and a nice possession-saving grab for the touchdown.
The touchdown. I guess they're wearing those football pants. I can understand how you're mistaken.
We should make the transition. Touchdowns, tight pants, when our shoulder pads coming into play, Kyle.
Not too long. I mean, we need some more like upper body guard gear for all that contact. Camden Allison Hall wide open. Where's the coverage?
There is some matchup. Rhino needs to take advantage of this. Freechild on the sideline, 20 yards out, hits Janin. And Janin back up to Freechild. Quick score. That point starting out with a defensive miscue from Sub-Zero, and Rhino absolutely punishes it.
Absolutely. I mean, Camden Allison Hall able to gain 35 yards unguarded. And Sub-Zero's got to be unhappy with that missed opportunity and just basically blowing a defensive point. And then Freechild taking over from there. You know, you can't. Here in Frisco, you can't give anybody that kind of opportunity to work it upfield, and especially a team as talented as Rhino is.
Certainly not. And in this game, Rhino is still knocking at this door. They're now down one, just away from that one elusive break to tie the game. They need 2 breaks to get an advantage if they want to win. But their defense facing an upwind pull.
Let's take another look at that play to see how Camden Allison Hall got so open. Here's Sub-Zero coming down on defense. You can see Allison Hall just in the backfield. Looks like his defender just turned the wrong way, has no idea. Or maybe no one was even picking him up to begin with.
I think it was a blown matchup. It was one of those things in the vertical stack. What we've said, you kind of get lost into who you're guarding. We saw it happen earlier with Rhino on defense, and Maywald got wide open. That side stack, if no one's watching, a player can slip out and get wide open.
Well, offsides here from Rhino, the first of the game. 2 offsides is a yardage penalty, but the first one's just a warning, and they'll repull. Looks like Montague's back on the line, although I can't tell if it's just the mustache, but he seems to be grimacing out there. He's kind of got like a not really comfortable look.
Yeah, he's still stretching that leg, trying to keep it loose. But as an offensive handler, if Sub-Zero can keep possession and score, hopefully Montague doesn't have to work that much except for with his throws. We see him catching the disc.
It looked like he almost limped in that little short stride to the disc.
And he goes deep immediately, trying to get it in front of Lindsley. There's Friedman. This is a matchup we wanted to see, and Grant Lindsley wins that one in the air over Eli Friedman.
Well, I guess he's healthy enough to throw big backhands, and that one hangs up. But Lindsley with yards. Friedman able to make that distance up. Here it is. Simon able to step out, even with a little bit of the injury on that right leg. Friedman makes up the yards, goes up first, and looks like he has a pretty good look, but just not quite high enough, and Lindsley goes up over top of him.
Sub-Zero has really been focusing on these opening plays for deep shots. I mean, we talked about the punt and D type of possession. I don't know if Sub-Zero just trusts their receivers downfield and this is their play, or if they're okay with taking these shots downwind because they know how Rhino will have a tough time getting back up those 70 yards. But this half we've seen opening plays to Nick Stewart, that one, of course, to Grant Lindsley.
Yeah, they're pretty devastating off these stop plays, and maybe you'd think that a Rhino or a team facing Sub-Zero later in the weekend might come out with a junk look to slow them down to start with. And even on that one, it hung up, but Friedman was having to jump off of a full run where Grant Lindsley was able to load and go up strong for it, which is why he had that extra couple of inches. I mean, I think that if they're both in the same position, Friedman and Lindsley are similar style athletes, it would be close, but it looked like Lindsley was able to get way up over on that one. So Gaynor back on the D-line pulling here for Sub-Zero.
That pull floats over the Rhino bench. Rhino's offense will get a start about 10 yards in front of their brick mark in the center of the field. Smith bringing the disc to the middle. It's tapped in, again a side stack, and we see the first junk look from Sub-Zero. Janin switches fields to Smith. Kind of poachy on the handlers, but Sub-Zero giving their man call. Smith inside break, finds Janin, and I believe a travel is called. Ben Feldman calling the travel on Trevor Smith. This is going to go the observer. The observer rules no travel, and Janin will be able to keep the disc just outside the end zone. Getting in that count, looks back to the middle, finds Freechild. Freechild has been so big for Rhino in their red zone. Nice throw and go from Janin. He's got no one on him. Easy throw from Freechild to Janin. An impressive play from those two. Have been doing a lot for the Rhino offense.
Yeah, you know, I think sometimes with Freechild on the line, Janin gets overlooked, but Janin's first step is unbelievably quick as well. He's very quick, and here's this give and go, just working it. The two of them back and forth and just dominating as the disc goes in. Freechild giving a little hand direction there, and then Janin just dishes it and just takes off, jumps, catches the disc, lands in the end zone for the goal. And you know, Sub-Zero's junk look there, not really putting much pressure, it seemed like, on that Rhino offense. Rhino able to gain 50 yards pretty much uncontested before Sub-Zero fell into person-to-person defense. And then again, Rhino just able to drive. And one of the challenges with that junk look is that you don't get the matchups you want, right? And especially with players like Janin and Freechild out there, if you don't have a quick, really fundamental handler defender who can take away the space and with footwork get their body in front of the player, you're going to get beat. And that's what we saw there, the two of them just taking over.
True. And on this downwind, we see Sub-Zero on offense again. Downwind. A lot of opening plays out of a vertical stack. We'll see what they're going to set up this time. Grant Lindsley isolated on one side. Nick Stewart is the other cut. And here comes Eric Johnson in the middle. Now they've set up and established some deep looks from those two. Eric Johnson gets a wide open 30-yard gainer. Lindsley on the sideline. Again marked by Friedman. Centers to Stewart. Back to Johnson. A hold. Lindsley. Centers to Klain. Kelly Van Arsdale almost gets a poach block in that red zone. But Kyle Gill still receives the disc. Minnesota's offense has been doing well in this half, and they stay up 13-11.
Well, there's Montague with the dish to Kyle Gill. I was watching Montague all point long. You can see he looks not at full speed. You can see that his strides just don't quite look there. And he actually stayed away from the play for much of it, but then once he found himself in kind of that one spot in the stack, he stepped up, made the play, got the disc, and able to dish to Kyle Gill. And Kyle Gill flips in.
And late in the game, Rhino takes a timeout, a perfect opportunity for us to show you the Patagonia play of the game. We are giving this one to Nicholas Stewart, an absolutely monstrous receiver in this game. This is going to be the throw coming out of halftime as person sets up under him, but Nick Stewart makes a big grab right in front of our cameras. And you know what? This play could easily go to Nick Stewart's deep throw at the very beginning of the game. Grant Lindsley's catch over Friedman that was similar. Just Sub-Zero's deep game in general, I think, gets the Patagonia play of the game off these pull plays. But we're going to award it to Nick Stewart. And let's not forget his cohort, Simon Montague, who has been setting him up for those.
Yeah, I just love watching those two big boys go up for the disc. Nick Stewart in particular, you know, he's struggled with injury off and on during his career. But when he's healthy, he is a dominant receiver out there and just such a big, threatening target for this Sub-Zero team and a fun guy to watch.
So Rhino getting ready for their offensive point. So far in this half, both offenses have been perfect, no breaks. Rhino needs to put this one away and get a break and start that trend if they want to win this game. They've been down since the beginning, have been able to keep it close, but haven't quite broke that barrier of switching the lead.
It'll be interesting to see what kind of defense Sub-Zero comes out with after that last point where they threw some junk before transitioning to person defense. Looks like they're back into that person-to-person, straight up this time. Oh, with a little bit of sagging in the middle of the lane from downfield cutters.
Looks like they're back to man as Allison Hall has the disc on the sideline. He's looking back to the middle for Janin. Forces up line, but a good poach D from Sub-Zero. They've got possession here on this cone, and we'll see what they can do with it. Sub-Zero has had tough time from this position. And they throw something floaty. Allison Hall is able to reel it in, and Sub-Zero is calling a foul. That's Harper Garvey calling the foul on Chris Hancock. The disc floated over both of them. Garvey saying that Hancock was coming into his back over his shoulder. I imagine this will go to the observers.
Yeah, the Rhino sideline not very happy about this call here from Garvey.
And again, this is something that we've seen before where Sub-Zero has had a tough throw coming out from that goal line position. Either they've come down with it on something lucky or they've come down with it in something that goes to the observer on a call.
Garvey, one of the younger players on the Sub-Zero roster. He was on the 2012 US U19 team. This one looks like it's going to be contested and set back.
We have a contested foul. The disc will go back. It'll stay
So
with
Logan Weiss will hold the disc. Logan Weiss, another one of the recent Carleton grads, and actually helped assistant coach the Carleton Syzygy, the women's team from Carleton, in their run to the finals of College Nationals in 2013.
Now Sub-Zero on offense, working upwind, 60 yards to go. Gainer on the sideline. He's got Meeson on the upline. Meeson back to Gainer. Going all the way across to Garvey. This one's floaty, a second opportunity. And this one is gonna be a turn. Free child. Allison Hall got wide open, no one's there. Easy score, quick strike from Rhino. That is just what they needed after struggling on offense to get an easy goal. Down 1, 12-13 going late in this game. We're going to take a quick break.
They don't want to get into a first-round matchup against the winner of the C pool. The loser, the fourth place team in this B pool, will match up against the winner of the C pool, which will likely be Sockeye if they win out their games, and that's going to be a tough matchup for any one of these teams. But Rhino's still in this game. I mean, only down by 2 points. They still have a shot. And then they face off as Machine, which I think the consensus would be they're the least tested of those pool top seeds.
Right, and Machine had a close game with Sub-Zero earlier today.
Yeah, where they barely eked out a win 15-14 over Sub-Zero. So this pool is still wide open for both of these teams. But Portland's certainly better off here with a win than with a loss.
Absolutely, as most teams are. And like we said at the beginning of the game, it's a strong win for them to just assert themselves as a team that is supposed to be at the tournament, is supposed to be the second team in their pool. A lot to prove for this young team. As Smith gets the disc in the center of the field. Side stack. Finds Bjorklund. Bjorklund, backhand, leading Allison Hall. Great move by Allison Hall, getting past his defender. Excellent read. And a smooth offensive point from Rhino, finally getting into that deep game groove late in the game.
So both offenses still perfect in the second half. No breaks. And a great throw from Bjorklund there. And Allison Hall, good position there. You know, he forces the defender to stay on the inside, and then he's able to use the wind to his advantage as the wind pushes it deeper. And so Camden Allison Hall doesn't have to make a difficult play. He can just run it down because of the angle that he took and the way he used his body to shield the defender.
So here we go, Rhino's defense needing a break here at 13-14. If Sub-Zero scores, the game is over. They have a line of Kelly Van Arsdale, Timmy Persons, Jacob Janin, Cody Bjorklund, Eli Friedman, Dylan Freechild, and Ben Laurie. They are going to have to match up against the likes of Simon Montague, Josh Klein, Eric Johnson, Nick Stewart, Grant Lindsley.
It's Kyle Gill and Drew Mahold, I believe.
I saw the 3 on the tights. I didn't know if it was Kyle Gill or Ben. Is that Ben Feldman? No, excuse me. Kyle Gill has been playing a lot this point, or this game on offense.
Yeah, he's a big O-line threat. You know, talking to Grant Lindsley, it sounds like there's a couple guys that are bellwethers, and Kyle Gill is one of them. If he's on and playing well, the Sub-Zero is a very scary team.
So here we go. Montague set up in the center. An ISO to Stewart. He's going to take the free reset as Persons doesn't want to get beat deep and in this game on a huck. Lindsley to Klein in the middle of the field. 5 yards outside the brick mark. There's Gill, centers to Klein. Rhino doing a good job shutting down, making Sub go to those resets. Stewart. Around to Klein. There's Johnson wide open, and that is it. Sub-Zero able to get the win on 2 breaks. 2 break throws on a perfect offensive half for them.
Well, and on 2 breaks, too. They scored 2 breaks, and those 2 breaks were early in this game. They broke once to make it 2-0 and a second time to make it 4-1. And after that, the offense just held. The offense got broken 1 time. Defense didn't get any more breaks in the game. This was a very offensively focused game. Very few turnovers for both teams, both looking like they can get it done offensively, but both struggling to generate defensive pressure against each other. And that second half featured 0 breaks.
Right, and I think it's a strong key that is also still short on the turns. It didn't turn into an upwind, downwind game where the downwind was just scoring on a lot of turns, and they finally punch it in. Both teams were playing strong, and the downwind offense was just playing very well. They have much more availability with the open space when they have the wind at their back. And gotta give it to Sub-Zero, a close game against Machine. They're able to beat Rhino, and they have Truck Stop to finish out their pool, and we're going to see where they set up in the round of 16 coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, certainly Sub-Zero is the scariest 3 seed in a pool at this tournament, and they could look to do some damage. They're a team that should be interesting to follow through the rest of this tournament because they may surprise some teams and maybe able to play with some of those top teams out there. And Rhino, Rhino has the athletes to do it as well. Both teams are going to need to generate more defense, though, if they want to score some big upsets.
Indeed. It was a great second round here from the Next Gen Network. Be sure to catch us in the next round. We will have returning champion Scandal versus Molly Brown. And big thanks to our cameramen on the field, one in the bird's nest, our crew back here in the booth, and Vin, take us out from this game.